fornication. Do you remember in the lesson that we had, drinking out of the golden cup, the cup of fornication, and everything that we discovered that was inside of that cup? Isn't it plain to see in the last 150 years how that she's been presenting that cup for all the world to drink out of, and freely such a large part of the world have chosen to drink from that cup. Yes, Babylon has fallen. We looked in the one lesson with the contrasting and conflicting concepts of Babylon and Jerusalem, and we again were reminded of how that in Babylon or in Jerusalem was God's commandment-keeping people, and every time they would not listen to God's commandments, they were taken to Babylon. And now it says Babylon has fallen, and is making everyone drink from the cup of fornication. She makes all nations drink. She doesn't skip anybody. And the concept these days that engulfs the whole entire planet is the new ecumenical system, that everyone must be together. We must all just join hands together. But notice, in joining hands together, we all join hands together and at the same time follow Catholicism. Notice the churches that have started joining hands together, we looked at it in our previous lessons, have started acknowledging the Pope as the supreme head of their church. She makes all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Verse 9 to 12 in Revelation 14. And a third angel followed, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. Here God is warning, or God's people is warning, do not receive the mark in the forehead or in the hand. It continues, that particular verse, it says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, those who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever shall receive the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints, here are they that keep the commandments of God. Is it just my imagination that every time the commandments of God keep on popping up repeatedly within Revelation? Notice that it said in that previous portion of that scripture, it says, those that receive the mark in his forehead or in his hand. You see, you only have to receive the mark of the beast, either in your thinking, you can make a cognitive decision to follow him, knowing who he is, or just your actions can also portray that you are following him. It doesn't matter if you are making a cognitive decision to follow, or if it's just by what you do, you're following him. But if one or the other is good enough for the beast, he's happy with that. What is this mark? We have looked at that, but just a final concept again. Cardinal Gibbons says, of course the Catholic Church claims to have made the change. This is referring specifically again to the change from Sunday or from Sabbath to Sunday. He says, of course the Catholic Church claims to have made the change. And this deed is the mark of the authority of the church. Another quotation from Catholic Record of London. Sunday is our mark of authority. The church is more than the Bible, and the change from Sabbath to Sunday is proof of this fact. Did you get that? The church is more than the Bible, and the change from Sabbath to Sunday is proof of this fact. This is the mark of the beast. But that verse ended off by saying, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Isaiah has such a beautiful verse. It says, it's God calling out. He says, oh, that thou hast hearkened to my commandments. Then had thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. He says, if only you had hearkened to my commandments. And those angels are calling out, one after another. You see, Christ has done all that he could for you and me. He's given us Daniel and Revelation. He has shown us the time in which we live. And when all is said and done, he sends his people, represented by 3 angels, to do the final call. And the question is, are we willing to take that step? Are we willing to follow God all the way? You may have questions still, now that we've come to the end of the series. Maybe you still have a question in your mind. Maybe you're still wondering, but are the commandments still valid in these days in which we live? If you have any more questions, there's information at the end of the DVD. You're welcome to contact us if you would like to know more. But remember, just as Elijah stood alone, as we studied in the lesson, Elijah today, just as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood alone, as we noticed in lesson number 2, just so you and I have to make our own choice. We have to stand alone and make a choice if we want to follow God and keep his commandments. He says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And if we do that, we too will hear that voice of God saying one day, blessed are they that do my commandments, that they may have access to the tree of life, and invites us into the city, the new Jerusalem, the city which God has prepared for you and me. I thank you for joining me during this series, and it's my fervent prayer that you will take to heart that what we've studied, and that you will choose to follow God. Thank you.